That's still VOD over there. Yeah, I just want to see the draft. I want to see more League of Legends. Senna, Ashe, and Lucian banned away by G2. Zac, the new ban from PSG, replacing the Draven before. Kalista picked by G2, and it looks like we might get Betty's Draven.
I'm gonna say, I don't like G2's Kalista. I've not been impressed by it. I understand the idea is that it gives you a strong laning phase. I do get it, but it hasn't been it for me. It does look like PSG is looking to run it back, though. G2's going to run it back as well. PSG, is it the Taliyah lock-in for Maple? I mean, their team fighting was still great in the early parts. They ended up losing out on the front to back, but they've said, we think that the Zac was the problem. Does G2 now just shift their priorities and instead prioritize something like the Cassante? Maybe PSG want to get the Rumble. Nope, they're going to look like they say, you know what? They're going to do the salty run back.
Run it back. The only reason I like the Kalista sometimes is the Fate's Call. It allows Mickey to be truly a madman going into the back of fights.
It's why Kalista support works. You just have the one button, and it's like, remember when Kench, you know, his Devour was, that's all the only reason. Same thing here.
It shouldn't be the same thing when it's 80 carry Kalista, though. You should have some damage alongside it.
That doesn't matter. Who cares about 80 carries, man? They're not relevant. As we are currently at, what, 3 weeks into the tournament with 80 carries getting basically single rotated every single time. Big thing here for me, the salty run back for PSG. I hope the Nautilus gets swapped up. I do think that we saw that Woody, when he had Flash, could make cool plays, and outside of that, just tried to engage on Poppy, and then Mickey would press W, and it wouldn't really do a whole lot. So hopefully that'll be swapped up. I think the supports counter pick is something where they can find a little bit more freedom, especially because they're guaranteed to know where everything is going on G2. And they have that R5. They picked red side, so I hope they use it for not an R5 Cassante.
So they've replaced a LeBlanc with a Tristana. So obviously G2 is not going to be able to run back their same composition. I don't imagine G2 is going to ban away the Nautilus. I imagine they'll stick with the Renata. No reason not to. The question is, how will they approach their draft now? Will the LeBlanc, in fact, be prioritized for caps? Bear in mind, this was the man that, even though the AD LeBlanc got nerfed multiple times, he still said, nope, I'm still going to play it. He's a big LeBlanc enthusiast.
PSG is just doing exactly the same thing. They've got rid of the Zac and the Tristana, which were the two picks for G2 on
I don't like that smile from Caps.
Smile from Caps. Hey, Dylan, we got to go Vayne. We got to go Vayne, Dylan.
Don't get baited by the hovers, guys. G2 is, they love playing around with your hearts. Something like an Azir. Twisted Fate top is going to be the angle for G2. All right, so the possibility of a lane swap. This also should deter the Cassante, but again, maybe they don't. Maybe PSG say, that's fine, we'll lane swap and we'll make your Twisted Fate really miserable, and that's okay with us.
That said, one of the big problems that we saw in the last game was it was really hard for PSG to reliably use Betty in fights because of the backline threat that was there with the... I'm not going to get baited by Harvard guy. There we go. As it is the LeBlanc you were talking about. LeBlanc J4, that's a 2v2 that goes back a very, very long time. Really, really strong in the 2v2.
It's Cap's second most played across the course of his career. 71% win rate on it. Very comfortable on the champ. So I have to see how effective he can be in this game. PSG going through their picks right now.
Jax.
We saw the Jax. We saw the Yasuo as well. Something Broken Blade has been using into the Twisted Fate himself. I wonder where we will.
And they're going to lock it in. All right, Aja. I like this. Can be a great matchup into the Twisted Fate. Can basically just because of the E on the Jax, obviously great at dealing with a heavy auto attack based champion. I also think it can make the life very miserable for a Kalista too. I ultimately like what PSG have. They have very similar front to back. Their front line isn't as strong, but they have a bit more backline threat now. Once the Vi is diving in, the Jax is going to be there to work with the Vi a little bit more. While the back might be a little bit more vulnerable, there's not as much follow-up as there was before, because once the Jarvan goes in, there's not going to be a Zac to follow. Twisted Fate might get a little creative with how he uses the Destiny, but I think there's going to be a lot more dynamics in terms of how the fights play out. It's not as straightforward as a traditional front-to-back this time around.
For G2, bit more finesse involved. The Zac-Jarvan combination we saw in that game really be so tough to deal with. Very straightforward. Just get onto the enemy front line, Mickey will isolate a target, and then we'll go from there. This time around, much more side laning pressure, though. That is something that PSG is going to have to be able to deal with. Early 2v2 towards top, though. Jax, particularly if he ends up going lethal tempo, can be such a menace in the early game. We'll see if PSG is actually going to utilize that to try and find an early lead. Because last time, the early game was actually fine. It was more mid-game where the trouble started arising.
Feels like a bit more of an explosive game here. No real tanks on either side. The Jax, obviously, with the Counter-Strike can be a bit tanky. Maybe we'll see both the junglers going down a tankier route, but expectations are that fights will be blink and you miss it, with a Blanc jumping in, with Talia Seismic shoving. We'll have to see which team is able to come out on top. PSG and G2 both lost their first games earlier on in the tournament against BLG and T1 respectively. Here it is G2 who are out to an early lead, but you can never count PSG out. Doing the PCS proud so far at this tournament. It's been a long time since we've seen a PCS representative take down a major region in a best-of-5, all the way back to when TPA won Worlds in 2012, where they beat Azubu Frost in the finals.
Main thing that we see here is Aji instead going for the Fleet, which in lane obviously gets a ton of value. The movement speed is nice, the extra sustain helps into this bully matchup. And then also Betty, this time around, he doesn't have as much frontline and he's not playing into as much frontline. So just going to be playing the lethality Varus with a lot more squishy targets. Going to be easy to get value out of that.
One of the things we didn't see much of from PSG in the first game was Maple and Junja working together to attack mid, but then also translate any pressure towards bot. While the early laning phase was very neutral across the boards, I think that in this game, you have to expect G2 to want to fight a lot more.
I mean, they're fighting already, Betty.
Well, the bot lane, it shouldn't come as a surprise,
yeah,
but LeBlanc Jarvan can be a terrifying mid-jungle duo, and I think that it is worth Junja investing some of his time, maybe burning a flash out from Caps, or just trying to alleviate some of that pressure, because once Caps does get level 3, he's going to be feeling himself after that first game. He's going to be feeling confident, and the more time he gets to play on stage, the more comfortable he naturally feels. So Maple, even though he's going to have the early push during these early levels, he's going to have to respect that potential setup that LeBlanc will have with the Jarvan.
One big thing here, though, is that there's already been double wards placed, so I think that PSG is trying to give Maple the most freedom he has to just play for the very aggressive shove early on, whereas G2's wards, both in the jungle, pretty sure Junja is going to get spotted when he goes towards his Raptor, so they're going to have a good idea of where he will be pathing towards, meaning that Mickey and Hans know exactly what the plan is going to be, unless Junja has a major swap from what you'd expect in terms of pathing.
Azure in a bit of a sticky situation here. Ranged into melee is always hard for the melee, but especially when Yike actually pathed towards the top side, placed his ward in the middle bush, and then went for the sweep a second. So now Broken Blade has his ward for this second push, meaning that Azure can't just dip in and out of the bush to get a minion, go back in, go out of vision, avoid the auto attacks. It makes it a lot easier for Broken Blade to actually harass him down.
Hunter did miss a cannon there, so already the early mental advantage in favor of PSG.
And you would Twitch chat entirely on there, like, -1, -1,
yeah,
-1.
I mean, it's important, man. You've got to keep track of that. Mickey doing what he often does, trying to get some information, drops the ward, will spot out Junja. I don't think he can steal it, but he's going to be annoying. He's got to be careful, as Woody is looking to collapse too. But there's that level 3 for Caps, and now you're going to start to see him exert a lot more pressure in the 1v1.
Does lose his passive. And we'll just step it in front of Maple to try and get some of those threaded volleys hitting the clone instead of hitting the minion wave. Azure down to 300 HP. In the bot lane, Mickey and Hansama have the push. Hook onto Mickey, though. Hammer smash. Mickey takes about half his health. Junja walks around the Sentinel, going up towards that Scuttle Crab. Looks like Yike was spotted as he came across here. Goes on to Junja. Mickey looking for the dash into the wall. Junja flashes away. Bolt breaker. Mickey flashes it. Heroic charge into the wall. But where's Hansama? Not here with his team right now. Caps moving down. Maple here to join the play. It's a 3v3. As Betty tries to get away. Yike jumps across. Hansama takes one. Maple already down to 200 HP as G2 continue to collapse. Woody has flash. Can he get away? Dredgeline, Riptide should be able to flash if Caps jumps in. He does exactly that. Caps can't jump back. Seismic shove going wide. Maple, the chains still connect. Yike not going in, but Woody looks for the re-engage. And Woody, what are you doing? Buzz isn't here to help you. Maple is tapped as well. Tremendous play by G2.
A disaster for PSG. They lose 4 members 4 minutes into the game. Junja, he thinks that he can go for this fight. Mickey only level 2. They try to force it. They think that they can collapse first, but in the extended fight, the pressure that Caps has in mid, the early skirmishing power of the Callista means that G2 walk away with 4 kills.
Big thing here is that, yes, they're able to take down Mickey, but it takes so long because of the flash, the amount of damage he's able to get down, it takes so many resources. And then here, you're with a Kalista and a LeBlanc, so these longer trades where you can just continuously use your mobility, use your chasing power are so hard to play out for PSG. They get overeager, and then here things go from bad to worse.
And Woody, he tries to lock Yike underneath the tower. He's thinking maybe we can do something here, but the shield wears off. Caps gets another kill, and then Yike lands the E, flash auto to secure it. 4 kills for G2.
In our picture-in-picture as well, we did see a dive materializing on Broken Blade in the top lane, but Yike was there to answer. Mickey looking for Woody here. He's at 300 HP, puts the Steadfast Presence down, gets the knock into the wall. Hun Summer will rend one, but Betty has the mana and the health advantage here as Hun Summer has to dance away. Does have double summoners. Should be able to burn the flash here if Betty charges up the arrow. Hun Summer flashes it.
One of the big things when you have the Varus is that as soon as a kill comes down, that passive, even if you don't have lethal tempo, goes hard. So I think in the end, PSG is not going to feel too bad about that trade forcing the flash, but it's not enough by itself because, again, due to that early skirmish, they're going to need to find more of these.
And this is also, Betty has a serrated Dirk, and Hansam is still starting on his starting item. Like, so G2 trying to take this play, they're obviously just trying to get the wave in, but it's very greedy from them to look for this 2v2.
You can see Mickey trying to get the knock into the wall. Hansama very low on mana as well. He does get that initial kill, but then Betty, as you highlighted, Chronicle, the passive comes up, and he's able to just run Hansama down. He doesn't quite secure the kill, but he does get the flash out, so that advantage that G2 had earlier has now been lost.
See gold even between the two AD carries right now. A lead for Caps in the mid lane though, 1-0-1 on this LeBlanc as Woody tries to clear out the minion wave. Caps is here though, the Ignite ticking, and Mickey puts another Ignite down, actually just getting Woody low. Junja trying to get away as well as he'll escape underneath the tower. I thought Woody was done for there. Mickey's Ignite not ticking for long enough.
No one dies, so PSG is like, they used a bunch of resources, we make it out alive. But it's still G2 that is going to maintain the pressure here. Another early objective in the form of this crab going to Yike.
It's one of the things that we talked about. Well, hang on, I think Broken Blade, oh, he might not be okay.
Grandmaster's mic coming out from Azure. Broken Blade does have the flash, and Azure just using that damage. Blue card locked in, highest DPS of all the cards.
So just a bit of pressure being exerted by Azure towards the top side of the map. But one of the biggest differences is the skirmishing power that G2 has this time round. The fact that it is a LeBlanc instead of a Tristana. While Tristana definitely has some decent damage, you're seeing how much more willing G2 is to actually fight in these early trades. And PSG, I think that they're kind of being caught off guard. Game 1 was a very slow, passive trade back and forth where PSG was able to accrue small advantages, but now G2 is just really bringing the fight to them, moving around the map a lot and trying to fight as often as they can.
PSG is still attempting to make plays. There's still Maple there, Shadow towards top, maybe looking for a dive on Broken Blade, even with his flash. You know, maybe he can get a flash counter-strike off, but not only was Caps already rotating as well, and I think that's why they called it off, Yike was also standing in between Tier 1 and Tier 2, waiting to see if something would happen. Wasn't the case. PSG, they gotta keep finding, or keep looking and try and find some of these openings.
So there's this wave starting to stack up in this bot side of the map. Junja is pathing towards bot with level 6. Does set up for a potential dragon, maybe even a dive. The problem is Maple really can't get out of this lane. We talked earlier about how I'd love to see Junja actually come mid, try and alleviate some of the pressure that Caps is putting down. While Caps is low on mana, you can see what he's able to do. He still has control over the wave. Maple is very hesitant to actually approach, and I think that if Junja doesn't do something about this, they can't leverage one of the big strengths of Maple, which is his ability to roam and utilize that wall to lock down the bot lane.
And the threat is also BB pushing out top lane, now just walking towards mid. He was spotted on a ward,
Maple
lots of things happened on him. So Maple knows he could be collapsed on. Junja now here to answer. Blast going in by Yike, there's the Destiny. Will G2 still go for this? Maple no flash. Junja there with the Bolt Breaker just to try and stop any advances, and G2 decide that the turret plate is enough.
One of the big things about this is we talked about that bot wave that was stacking. That's now gone. That window, that opportunity that Junja potentially had to make something happen has disappeared. And that's just from the pressure that G2 is able to exert in mid lane. And you can see how suffocating it is for PSG, how they're very quickly losing options in terms of what they can do in the early game, but definitely shouldn't count them out. We think about their late scaling options. We know that their team fighting is strong. We saw a very similar composition to this in the previous game. They have a lot of single target lockdown. They have a lot of pick potential, and Aja in a side lane is going to be someone that's very difficult to manage for this G2 composition. So even though they find themselves at a deficit for now, it's not all doom and gloom for PSG.
Biggest issue that PSG are gonna find, or rather are gonna be able to deal with, is simultaneously not losing all pressure on the map, but also respecting G2's skirmishing power. Right, the downtime of this ultimate, for example, from Broken Blade is something that you're gonna look towards. But that is where, to me, and the desk highlight is as well, this Poppy pick is such a nuisance. One of the biggest advantages that you have is
Maple gets out. Just eats a distortion to the face.
Yeah, as I was saying before Caps rudely interrupted me, forcing out the ultimate though, which denies Maple again that map pressure that even if he does get out of lane, now not going to be able to find, is that Vi, Nautilus specifically, is so good at getting you out of rough situations. But if you try to play that into Fate's Call and Poppy just in general, it is so much harder, particularly when you have two very mobile characters in the Jarvan and the LeBlanc.
You can see a bit of an interesting sequence here. The bot lane from PSG has both backed. You can actually see Betty opening through bot lane, so he's going to try and match Hansama. Both the supports, though, are pathing through that mid lane. With Grubs now up, PSG have almost perfect information of the surrounding area. Caps is going to base, likely has his first item and has the TP, immediately uses it. There's the Luden's companion. Will PSG decide to take this fight?
They're looking at it. Kalista looks like it's going to be making his way towards bot. Last time we did see Betty rotate, but PSG, this is the skirmishing power that G2 have with this composition. They're a little hesitant. They don't want to take the gamble, and they're going to concede. That means that G2 have secured first dragon, all 6 of the grubs. And something that you talked about, Chronicler, in the draft was how G2 do have a lot more side lane threats. Those 6 grubs are going to offer a lot of value when it comes to sieging those towers, and Twisted Fate just being a split-pushing menace.
It's really tough. Additionally there, PSG, the moment they lose control of the banana brush, they're like, we can't walk up, right? Mickey, especially with Flash, easy for him to lock down, but it's kind of a lose-lose situation here for PSG. I agree with the call to not go for something there, but they're not really finding anything on the cross map either, because as you mentioned, Hans was at the ready to call. So PSG getting to the objective, then seeing that it's not that great and then backing off means that you're going to fall a little bit behind. The lead that Aji was able to build up in topside, now slowly starting to fall away again, and it was one of the few, I think, moments, or opportunities rather, for PSG.
Caps look for Maple, first chain lands. Maple takes half his health, he's 2 levels down as well. He's in such a hole right now.
One of the, oh, hang on a second, Caps
would have to jump back onto the unraveled earth here. He does so. Ginger finds him, but Yikes already got one. Caps dashes back. Will be able to escape from the clutches of Ginger, and Ginger now needs to try and escape. Vault Breaker! Oh! Is that Civ HD? I see on my screen, you just can't touch him. Caps gets another.
Caps and Yike, the mid-jungle 2v2 coming out on top. Betty uses the ult.
Hansama has the face call here. Mickey might just flash, hammer shots into the wall. The cleanse will be enough, but not as he tries to get away at the end. Woody coming in, stops to keep his verdict, but Woody, in a moment, will realize there's no minion wave here for him to defend. He will... Well, he's not going to allow Mickey to walk... Oh, Mickey. Mickey tanked the tower. The Ignite will tick on him. Flash. Oh, Mickey. He didn't need to hit Woody. What are you doing, Mickey?
I don't know.
Okay,
maybe he thought he was already in range for Fate's Call before the tower shot comes in?
Maybe, because Maple was also initially heading towards bot, and his ultimate was like 5 seconds of cooldown.
Top lane play, PSG.
Or it was just a mistake. I don't know. You guys are
making a mistake.
You guys are better at judging that than I am. Okay, I'm gonna leave you to be the judge of that.
We don't call him Mickey XD for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's either Mickey X marks the spot or Mickey XD, and you know, you get a bit of A and a bit of B. Now, G2 obviously find themselves in a commanding position, a 4K gold lead, largely off the back of this mid-jungle duo. Yike making his presence known in the enemy jungle. Mickey at his back. There's Caps.
Woody trying to get away. They jump onto Maple instead, and Mickey's here once again. Caps with the chase. Destiny, where you going? Maple across the wall, but the gold card will follow you. Broken Blade locks it in and puts Maple in the dirt. Now Ginger next up for G2. They continue to collapse, dodge the hook. Betty coming in from the side as well, but he realizes they're outnumbered right now. The chains connect on Ginger. We'll just take him down to half HP. All this play likely over a Rift Herald into a Drake.
This game is rapidly deteriorating for PSG. They're losing full control. They're no longer able to walk into their own jungle. And the moment, especially against the Fet LeBlanc, this mid lane turret falls, you're going to be in so much trouble as Woody just dies!
Just decomposes in front of our very eyes. Chain of Corruption did land onto Yike. Ginger coming in as well, but you can't bot Breaker out of the steadfast presence! And the Cataclysm is the death knell for PSG. 12 kills to 3, a 6,000 gold lead for G2.
I mean, Caps is just a menace. We talked about how in game one he was playing with so much more confidence. You give him the LeBlanc, one of his most comfortable champions, and he is just running circles around PSG.
Azure looking for something up in the top lane, has the Triforce complete. The gold card locked by BB, will only buy him a second. Yike is here, BB flashes the wall, and Yike dashes away. Importantly though, Azure able to stop the Rift Tower from going down. G2 had to react to defend their top lane. Hunsummer getting chased out by Maple here, the Weaver's Wall. Available for Maple, will he go for more? The answer is a negative.
TP
behind, never mind, G2! They're not to fight, it's Caps! Woody there for it, Weaver's Wall away. Woody will be able to walk to the safety of his tower. There's no terrain there for him to dash to. He catches, taps underneath the turret. The mites! The mites! Ah, that's why they're called mites and not the cans. Can't take down the turret right now.
Oh my goodness, that Caps is going to secure it. 12 kills to 3, an 8k gold difference. Caps is just running amok, and I mean, you have to give credit to Yike and Mickey too. They've just been working so closely with Caps, every opportunity roaming towards mid and just punishing anything that PSG tries to do. The saving grace for PSG is Aja.
BB, no flash, gold card locked. Yike coming in as well. Ginger tanking that turret. Aja flashes away as BB will fall, but Ginger pays for the dive with his life. Hansama on the chase, Fate's call. Possible, but unlikely to chase any further here as Aja has a half HP tower to retreat to.
Mickey with his Deadman's plays like, I'm running, I got Swifties, I'm on my way. Unfortunately, thanks to Junja's sacrifice.
Aja.
Oh boy.
Nope, he doesn't.
Can you kill him? Counter-Strike used early, maybe you can. Knocked into the wall, he's running. And he smashes Azure against the side of Summoner's Rift.
I think the Poppy might be a problem, and I think PSG need to seriously...
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
We have done so many times. And then I imagine they watched T1 win the game. I was like, oh, you know what, Poppy's fine. It's no problem. The problem now for PSG is because they're so far behind. G2 is winning as many sides of the map as humanly possible. That's not allowed. You get to usually win one while the opponent trades, but because the gold leads are so impressive, Caps has a Crypt Bloom.
The risk for G2 is they are playing undermanned fights at times. Azure has TP in. He's going to go to the mid lane. Hunsummer still in the top lane, but the Keeper's verdict makes this a 4v3. Maple falls first, Betty short to follow. BB gets the double. Dredgeline away by Woody, but that anchor is sending him to the depths. Hansummer, all the meanwhile, he's doing damage to turrets.
It's as you say, Chronicler, PSG, no matter what they do on the map, they're just getting stopped by the aggression of G2. I liked the idea of the cross map on top when they tried to attack Broken Blade. Yes, they got that kill, but it ended up with Aja dying. They also lost the top tier 1, and then Cap still moves down to bot. There's Yike there also to contest the Dragon. This game is rapid. I mean, it's not rapidly, it is gone. It is deteriorated. It is in pieces, tatters. There is a 12k goal difference, and we're not even at 20 minutes.
I'm sure Medic has some great puns about the maple tree withering away.
I have a good question, though. Why can Mickey do this when I take all the kills as support in solo queue, I get flanked? Okay, most kills on the team. Didn't go Sundered Sky this game, but Cap's going to chase out Woody as he tries to flash away. Woody more of a walking 150 gold right now as...
That's a support!
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not taking damage. I actually have the answer to that one. In the wise words of Carrier, remind everyone, you are not Carrier, and your teammates are not T1. So in this case, you are not Mickey, you are not Mickey, and your teammates are not G2 Medic.
Very true. For PSG though, so far in the hole, they can barely see the light at the top of it. It's such a struggle for them to get back in this game, and you have to think that their eyes will be going to game 3 and maybe adjustments in the draft.
Maybe? I mean, you understand why they would want to run it back. From their perspective, everything was going well. It was just that when it came to the late game team fights, their front to back, they weren't as strong as G2. So they said, you know what, we'll remove some of their front to back elements and we'll make it easier for us to team fight. And then G2 said, how about we don't team fight? How about we just fight you 2v2, 3v3? And Caps has become a very serious problem.
Counter-Strike, heroic charge into the wall, Counter-Strike dodged, and Azure, yeah, that's not blue skies for the top laner from PSG.
I mean, what's also crucial here is notice how G2, they're not being overzealous with their aggression, right? One of the things that we know about G2 coming into this series, they put a lot of pressure on themselves. They remember what happened at last year's Worlds. They knew that they were heavy favorites coming into that series against NRG, and they fell short. They didn't want that blunder to happen again. And coming into today, they wanted to treat this opponent just like they treated T1. And the patience and execution that they currently demonstrate show that level of reservation. They're not diving tier 3 towers. They're not getting overzealous that we often see.
Keep going, Benny. Keep going. Keep building it up.
Curse is what
Be prepared for the largest caster curse the world has ever seen.
Oh, come on.
It's G2 casting it's Benny casting a G2 game.
13k gold up.
Surely.
Atlas has been on the wrong end of these before.
He has.
And the inhibitor getting pushed here. Flash in, sees an assist. Caps flashes away from the chain of corruption. Azure trying to dive on the back line. But look at the might. PSG just surrounded by the oncoming hordes of G2's minions. Broken Blade now on the inhibitor tower in the mid lane as they're looking for more. Caps continues to dash in. Betty takes half his health without the chains even landing. And Woody takes more as the Cataclysm finds an easy avenue for G2 to lock up PSG. And they were taking their time, but now they're not ready. 21 minutes into the game, G2 will rip through PSG and go one game away from making it into the next round of MSI.
An absolute shellacking of PSG here. And we talked about it, the draft, you gotta completely switch it up. You can go blue side, you can bend it up. Something needs to change. In game one, PSG held on to, I don't know, like what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before a fight kind of took them out of the game. Here, it was a level 4 skirmish in the river, Vedi.
I mean, yeah, G2, they're playing well, they're playing clean. We'll see if they can maintain that level, but as you rightly said, PSG, they need to change something up, whether it be about trying to find more skirmishes in the early game, giving themselves a little bit more agency. I think back to their series versus BLG, when we saw Betty on the Zeri, and they had the Zeri Lulu, and they were diving bot. They were fighting Elkanon on their territory. That was the best version of PSG I felt like that we've seen, and we haven't seen that so far in this series. I want to see that level of aggression, that level of confidence to go toe-to-toe with G2 in the early game.
Totally agree with you, Betty. We'll see what the analysts